Hey guys, Frosty Knives here, back with another EU book review. And it's 90 degrees outside and I'm still wearing my beanie. Today we're going to be taking a look at a book that is new to me that I have never read in Star Wars universe. One that was written by my favorite Star Wars author. And that book is Star Wars Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn. And let me just say off the bat that I'm really glad I read this book because this was really a fun novel to read. This is the first of what is a trifecta of Timothy Zahn novels that we're going to be reading. It's the first full-length novel that takes place after A New Hope. And it is the first of 3 Timothy Zahn novels in a row that we will be taking a look at. There are 2 more written by Zahn that follows this one. So let's take a little bit of a look at Scoundrels. Right here is the cover for it, and let me just say I do enjoy this cover. This is a nice hand-drawn cover of Lando, Han, and Chewie in a lineup. Very nicely done. I actually think this may be one of the better Star Wars covers that is out there. Included also in this book is a short novella that was also written by Timothy Zahn called Win or Lose All. And that 60-page novella or short story, whatever you'd like to call it, it serves as a prequel to the main novel. It's a small story centered around Lando, and in that small story, you are introduced to 3 other characters that will play prominent roles in the main novel. So because it is a prequel story, I read it first before I read the book. And it was an okay story, just a little bit of getting your feet wet in the characters and what you might be seeing down the line. You don't have to read it to understand the main novel at all. Just gives a little bit more of a flavor. And if you're reading it in chronological order like we are, then you'll want to read the prequel novel first, short story first, and then read the main novel. So let's talk a little bit about the main novel, Scoundrels. Now, on this journey that we are taking, there have been many different types of novels that we've come across so far. We've come across political thrillers. We've come across prison thrillers. We've come across Western-type stories that resemble a Western-type novel. We've come across horror novels, or a horror novel, in Death Troopers. And now we are coming across another type of story, and we are getting a heist novel. Scoundrels is a heist novel right along the lines of things like Ocean's 11, Mission Impossible. It is a story where a band of ne'er-do-wells, each of who has a very specific set of skills, get together because they want to break into the impenetrable and impossible safe of a high-ranking criminal mastermind because they want to steal what is in the safe. And what are they after? And who are they after? They're specifically going after 163 million credits and a pack of blackmail data cards. And they are going to hit one of the Black Sun Vigo's private mansions, who just happens to have an impossible security system with an impossible safe. No way in, no way out. How are they going to do it? And that's the story. So they're going to hit a Black Sun Vigo's house to pull off the heist of the century that they're all then going to split 11 ways and then go off on their own to live the rest of their lives. As usual, Han gets tagged to spearhead this this heist. And why does Han get spearheaded to do the heist? Well, he is the head scoundrel, but this book finally sort of answers one of the long-standing questions that we were left with at the end of New Hope and Empire, and that is, if Han and Chewie got a whole bunch of money from the rebels at the end of A New Hope, which is what he was doing it for. He was doing it for the money, so he could pay off Jabba, and so that he could get rid of the bounty on his head. Then how come in Empire he was still on the lam? He was still in need of money. Did he not pay off Jabba, and what happened to his money? And this book sort of explains it in a roundabout explanation. And the explanation that we're giving is two things happened. One, the Millennium Falcon was attacked by pirates. And this money that the rebels had given Han was stolen. And in addition to that, Jabba doubled the bounty on Han's head. So even if he had that money, it wouldn't have been enough anyway, because now his bounty is doubled. So at the beginning of the book, Han is once again broke, needs money, has a bounty on his head from Jabba, and is trying to figure out what's he going to do about it. And he discovers or thinks that if his portion of this $163 million, that would be enough to finally get Jabba off his hair, out of his hair, off his back, out of his ship, and he can go live whatever life it is that he wants to live, even though what he did with the rebellion is still sort of pulling at him a little bit in the back of his mind. He still wants to live that independent smuggler's life. So that's why Han goes into this heist. And so he gathers around himself 10 other people, each of which have very specific skills that he will need. Lockpicking skills, stealth skills. He's got a magician in there. People who can crack codes. People who can crack reprogrammed droids, slicers, dicers, Cuisinarts, you name it. He's got like 10 people on his on the list. One of which is Lando. And then he's ready. So the allusions to things like Ocean's 11, he has 11 people going in here to crack this mansion. So it is very much a heist novel. And even though Lando is still is part of the team, for continuity's sake, he is still mad at Han for the events that happened on Elysia, thinking that Han stuck him in the back and stuck everybody in the back for the sake of his then rebellion girlfriend. So he's still carrying a bit of a grudge for Han. You know, he'll do the job and they don't have to be like buddy-buddy, but he still is like, you know what, I'm not going to trust Han anymore, and I'm just going to do it and get my money, and I'm going to go. And so this is the whole of the story. The whole of the story is them getting onto the planet, casing the joint, figuring out how they're going to get in, gathering information, gathering layouts, and then finally at the end of the book is the major heist pull-off, the impossible break-in. And, you know, that's one of the things that Timothy Zahn does is he puts obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. It may feel a little bit overcrowded in what he's doing because there's a lot of things that they have to overcome. But I felt that it was exciting. It was interesting to watch the heist unfold. It was interesting to see how they would get past all the traps and things and how they would do the misdirections and whatnot and all of that. So I thought it was an interesting heist and very, very well done. Of course, the heist the heist is successful. They don't get exactly what they expected to get at the end of the heist. I will say that. Han is still broke at the end of the heist. So with Han and Chewie, they still need money. And then we get to the twist ending, which I am not going to reveal. The twist ending it came out of left field and really took me by surprise. And when I say a twist ending, I mean that the last 2 pages of the book were a twist ending. And if you really want to boil it down to it, the twist ending came at the very last sentence. And once you read that ending and realize what just happened, it changes the entire complexion of the novel. It's still a heist novel, but it changed the whole complexion of the novel so that when you put it down, you go, oh, that's why so-and-so did what he did. And that was very clever. And I'm not going to spoil the ending of it. And I hope everybody will be on their good behavior in the comments and not spoil the ending of it there either. If you do, I will delete it. Because I really think that people should read this. Even if you're not into Star Wars, per se, this is a good novel. This is a good heist novel. And you don't really need to be a Star Wars aficionado to get the twist at the end. You'll still get it. People who have just a passing knowledge of Star Wars will still get the ending. And I think I give all the credit to Zahn for that little twist at the end, because it really takes you from where you are, where you think the novel is ending, to what really happened. And now it makes you want to reread the novel, knowing what you already know, because there is no suspicion through the novel. You do not suspect the ending at all. There is no foreshadowing. There is no little crumbs or hints being dropped. You think it's one way, but then you realize at the very end, it's a completely different way and a completely sort of different explanation. And I loved the book for that. Timothy Zahn is a hell of a writer. He has always been my favorite Star Wars author. And this book just proves that not only can he write other novels other than his Empire trilogy and other things, but he really knows his stuff. He really knows his Star Wars lore. He really knows his characterizations. He really can weave a story with everything that is in there. Now, the characterizations, the characters that are in the book are really well done. Each of the characters, each of the scoundrels that we get gathered together are really well written, really well fleshed out. And all of them, I will say, all of them are written specifically for this book, except for one character. And in this book, you are going to be introduced for the first time. If you are reading this in chronological order, you will be introduced for the very first time to a character called Winter. Now, Winter, she will become extremely important for the rest of the expanded universe. She is a character that will do a lot of things coming down the pike. But what you need to know about Winter is she's Alderaanian. She's Princess Leia's childhood friend. They grew up together on Alderaan. They're both part of the Rebel Alliance. And Winter has an eidetic memory, so she remembers everything perfectly, which makes her an extremely efficient and valuable spy. That's part of what she does for the rebellion. She spies for them. She gathers information for them. She gathers things for them, material, people, information. And she will become very important as we get down the line. So I was very happy to see Timothy Zahn include Winter in this story. I really like Winter as a character. She's very interesting. She's very good at what she does. She's very sympathetic. She's very close to Leia, being that they were best friends. They both suffered the same tragedy of their home planet being destroyed. They were both off planet doing their parts for the rebellion when Alderaan was destroyed. So their trajectory in life is very similar. And I think that's what makes them, such a good team. But we will be seeing more of Winter. Everybody else, I don't know if anybody else, any of the others besides Chewie, Lando, and Han are going to show up, but we will be seeing more of Winter, and we can look forward to that. This was, like I've said, this was an extremely well-written book. There is a lot of moving pieces. There is a lot of parts and things that are going around. And the fact that Timothy Zahn was able to keep all of that going together and fleshing it out and making it all make sense going towards the end was really well done. It takes place on one planet. It takes place on the planet Wukar, at the Black Sun Vigo's mansion during a festival. They have a yearly festival, so it's a one planet, one place, one time of year where they decide to pull off this heist. So it's super focused on its storyline, super tight, super focused. That's all you're getting. You're getting a story about the heist, well crafted. The characters are well done. The dialogue is well done. All of the extra people that are there, both on the Scoundrel side and the Vigo side, are really well fleshed out. Nobody really feels like they were an afterthought or they were left out. So for me, this was a very, very easy 5-star read for me, because I was just fascinated by the whole story and trying to figure out how in the world they were going to pull this heist off. And of course, the twist ending at the end, that was just, that was just the cherry on top. That was just the icing on the cake, whatever metaphor you want to call it. That was just the chef's kiss of the novel. And I really believe, whether or not you are a Star Wars fan, I really believe you would enjoy this book because of the action and the heist. I really think that this is sort of something that anybody can get into, whether or not you are a Star Wars nerd, like I am, like we are, and whether or not you're going on this journey like we're doing. So guys, that is my review of Star Wars Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn. Excellent hand-drawn cover for this book. Easy 5 stars for me on Goodreads. Easy, perfect score. And not just because I'm a Timothy Zahn fanboy, but because I think it is that good of a book. And there are Timothy Zahn novels that we'll probably get to that I won't score as high. Because, we can't just score them as a 5 just because we like the author. So guys, that is my review. The next book that we're going to be reading, also by Timothy Zahn, is a book called Allegiance. So we'll be getting into that very shortly. So guys, what did you think of Star Wars Scoundrels? Have you read it? Have you read this book? Have you read Zahn novels? What is your opinion on it? Comment below and let me know what you thought about this book or any book that we've read so far, or any Zahn book you want to talk about, or really anything you want to talk about. Comment below in the tabs below. And as always, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, give it a share, pass it around, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell those people who really enjoy heist novels and movies. And as always, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and I will see you in the next review.